I think I just got ghosted by Cartier. Yep, you heard me right. Let me explain the story. Back in 2024, I went to Geneva to Watches and Wonders. I'm going back next year, so that's going to be very interesting. But back to the story. I went to the booth of Cartier, saw their novelties, and absolutely fell in love with the Cartier monopusher in platinum, a limited edition of 200 pieces. And so I was in contact with someone at Cartier that's called a Cartier ambassador, specialized into like VIPs and things like this. We buy a lot of watches from Richemont, so I'm not the biggest Richemont customer, but you know, we buy a lot of watches from them, so, and from other brands. So I thought, you know, I could be potentially a good customer and good client for them. And, you know, even though we sell pre-owned watches, all the watches that are allocated to me directly, I never sell and will never sell. So if any brand is looking at this, you know, please don't blacklist me. But anyway, so I reached out to the ambassador and say, please, you know, consider my application. I want this piece. So, you know, we go through the process, a few months go by, and she tells me, yes, it's, you know, they have to go first through a first batch of application. Then there's a second batch of application, and then they make a decision. And so one day around October or November of 2024, she calls me and tells me, listen, you're not gonna get it. And so I'm like, well, you know, I understand, but thanks for letting me know. Thanks for the effort. We'll see, you know, next year. And then a couple of weeks later, I get a call and be like, guess what? I actually got you one. I was like so excited, you know, and asked, okay, how do we proceed? And so she tells me, well, we need a full payment up ahead. I'm like, no problem. And she gives me the quote, and the quote was like 30 something thousand. And I was like, something is not right. And so I asked her to check. Obviously, she doesn't seem to know exactly what we're talking about in terms of watches. She's trying to help me, but clearly she doesn't know much about watches.